And another proof that Babylon the Great is failing as a political system. People are sick of the left-right paradigm, the red and the blue, and Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative. They're getting tired of being told what to think. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, a great millstone who are teaching the truth and sincerity, and a shout out to Yakim and Yaquat that are out there risking your lives, doing the work. Braka the Yahweh, Braka the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kakadash, Braka Dub. So, and we the elect know better than to participate in these so-called elections because nobody really ever wins these things. It's all a dog and pony show. I think the people know that it's bullshit. And then you just got the sheeple, the three blind mice scenario.
The interesting thing about the Sanders...
This guy's Amalek, that. So's Bloomberg. Amalek.
How these mainstream talking heads just lose their minds when it's over also a fairly moderate... this is like a kind of a milquetoast social democrat with a watered-down New Deal program, but it just drives them absolutely insane. And there are certain things that are promising about that, and some things that are just not, some of the same old song and dance. But I would say the most exciting thing about it is, and the thing that they're most afraid of, is the most general principle that the rank and file aren't listening. The talking heads want to be able to tell Americans what to think. They've been doing it for decades. And the union bosses want to be able to deliver their goods, which is votes. And now you said, you see in Nevada, that the culinary union was very, very strongly against Sanders. They ran ads. They dumped on Medicare for all, and as it turns out, workers themselves from the same unions voted overwhelmingly in favor of Sanders. So that's the interesting part. It's a moment. It's a moment when the elites are not able to tell people how to think. And how far it goes remains to be seen, I think. I mean, they're pulling out all the stops. They'll continue with this character assassination. He's an anti-Semite. He's a Russian agent. I mean, really, the Russian agent stuff, I teach 10-year-olds who roll their eyes. Like, what do you mean, again? They're saying that again?
And that's just it, though. It's a waste of fucking time even watching this shit. We know that Donald Trump's gonna win. I mean, he looks like the guy to start World War III, and they purposed it that way because he's a yes man. Like the Jim Carrey movie, Yes Man? He's a yes man. He'll do whatever little Israel state, Amalek, will tell him. Remember, Benjamin, not a Jew, is his best friend. So yeah, character assassination, all that sort of thing, but we know that America was doomed to fail, and Trump's the guy to get it done. Here's another article from Press TV. Trump has betrayed America again, Schiff says. U.S. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff says President Trump has betrayed America by failing to protect the 2020 presidential elections from alleged Russian intervention, just like that other guy just said. Nice deflection, Mr. President, but your false claims fool no one, Schiff said on Twitter Sunday. You welcomed Russian help in 2016, tried to coerce Ukraine's help in 2019, and won't protect our elections in 2020. The president fired his intelligence chief over briefing Congress alleged Russian meddling in favor of Trump and Democratic frontrunner Bernie Sanders. So this is just totally hilarious, this dog and pony show. People fall for it all the time. Or do they? Is this place actually falling apart and people have woken up and smelled the bullshit for what it is? I mean, Carlin said that once, that Americans love their bullshit right where it lies, which is why they elected and re-elected Barack Obama, you know, because they like their bullshit. You know, he just pretty much went on TV and says, hey, I'm full of shit, free health care for everyone, and it just meant increased premiums. Brought you Obamacare, right? Because these politicians are full of shit, and the people that believe them are even more full of shit. And here's Gomer and all his bands. 2 Turkish troops killed in Libya. Turkish President Erdogan says 2 Turkish troops have been killed in Libya despite an earlier assertion that Ankara had withheld the dispatch of forces to the North African country in an attempt to give peace a chance. Right. They come in peaceably, and then but war was in their heart. Erdogan announced the toll at a news conference on Tuesday, calling the dead troopers martyrs without elaborating. The Turkish president had said over the weekend that Turkey had suffered a couple of casualties in Libya, sparking criticism for not providing a precise number. Libya's internationally recognized government, led by President Minister Fayez al-Sarraj, has previously sought Turkish support against rebels under the command of Khalifa Haftar, who have been fighting to seize the capital Tripoli, who have received support from Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. And to be honest with you, the only legitimate leader that there was in this place was Muammar Gaddafi, but ever since then it's been chaos. And nothing but terrorists run the place now. Ankara has approved the dispatch of troopers into Libya in a declared bid to protect the Libyan government, but following a multinational peace summit in Germany. Erdogan said Turkey would not deploy the forces so as to facilitate a ceasefire that the summit was held to promote. Since 2014, Libya has been divided between the Tripoli-based government and a camp in the eastern city of Tobruk, supported by military by Haftar's rebel forces. So you see how the terrorists are being called the Libyan National Army, but the actual opposition, which is really the pro-government, has been called the rebels. You see how everything's a flip coin? Turkey has also transferred allied Syrian militants, which are the terrorists, you know, leaving Idlib to go to Libya. Press TV's website can also be affiliated with the address domains. So pretty much, man, you know, the Ottoman Empire still exists. It's just, you know, that's what would happen, though, is that they would chew off their tails, so to speak. Meanwhile, back in Syria, Syrian army forces push further into southern Idlib, liberate 3 villages. Syrian government forces backed by allied fighters from popular defense groups have made further progress in the southern countryside area of the country's embattled northwestern province of Idlib, liberating more villages from the clutches of foreign-sponsored Takfiri terrorists. Syrian official news agency reported that the Syrian soldiers and their allies took complete control of the villages of Majar Tamatar and Martashan on Tuesday following fierce clashes with members of the Jabhat Fatah al-Sham, formerly known as al-Nusra Front, Takfiri terrorist group, and their affiliates. So, pretty much, though, you can see that, well, the report added that the clashes incurred heavy losses on the terrorists in terms of military equipment and personnel. Syrian army units are now hunting down the remnants of terrorists who have fled the villages toward Kafr Nawal town, a major militant stronghold in the southern part of Idlib. Later in that day, Syrian soldiers and allied fighters from popular defense groups recaptured the village of Barabu and started an operation to recapture the remnants of terror outfits in neighboring areas. Speaking of chemical warfare, bioweapon, well, you and I both know, though, that this is designed also to go after the one that they really want to go after, Persia, all of them. Iran Deputy Health Minister contracts coronavirus, vows decisive fight. So, they're getting it too, you know, so we know that Esau's wreaking havoc with this disease he's created. Speaking from the quarantine, Iran's vice health minister announces that he has tested positive for the new coronavirus, but expresses certitude that the country will overpower the epidemic over the upcoming weeks. I contracted coronavirus too, Ari Hajjaz said in a video that surfaced on Tuesday. He stated that he had entered isolation and started treatment, but said his general health condition was favorable and that he was currently just experiencing fever and fatigue. Harsha, meanwhile, said he was certain that the country would come out victorious in the face of the outbreak in the next couple of weeks, saying he was given the assurance wholeheartedly as the country had the effective treatment at its disposal. The official, however, warned that adversarial media outlets were trying to spread misinformation concerning the extent of the problem in the country. Well, yeah, because they want, to spread fear, and like everything else, though, this is how he's going to cause the entire world to be microchipped. But so far, Syria is not reporting any cases of it. But that doesn't mean, though, that the prophecy still won't come to pass because it's all both small and great. Rich and poor, free and bond to receive that mark, which will include Syria, by the way. All these countries of the world will be forced into that system. And here's some of the video, of course, like everything else, limited to how much I can show. I mean, I can show you fake videos of people, crisis actors, pretending there's a chemical weapons attack. But I can't really show too much fucking real war footage from the terrorists themselves.
هالصدر فين؟ ها؟ هالصدر فين؟ نصدر فين؟ الغرفة ايه؟ لأنه فيها جوا كتير وبرا فيها. يلا على السريع.
So this is Gomer and all this man still trying to have their way in Syria.
استهداف مجموعة خنازير لحزب الشيطان على قضية الشيخ عقيل بصاروخ مين دال. الله أكبر والعزة لله. يا جوا أيوة يرحم جدك يا بعرب. الله أكبر يا بعرب. الله يرحم جدك. شوي شوي أيوة شوي شوي. فكها شوي شوي. الله أكبر. الله يسلم. فك القاعدة فك القاعدة يلا. فك القاعدة. زين. بسم الله الله اكبر وما رميت رميت لكن الله رمى
استهداف تجمع لعصابات الاسد الاليه اللهم سدد الرمي يا رب اللهم سدد الرمي يا رب اللهم سدد الرمي يا رب.
Yeah, this looks like humanitarian effort, right?
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر نزلت نزلت الله أكبر غيره 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 الله أكبر يلا غيره. الله أكبر يا شباب ال 23 جنب البي ام بي كمان صار يصيح. الله أكبر يا شباب الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر يا شباب الله أكبر. صاعد الآن أمام الفوج انفجار بي ام بي مزخرة بعد استهدافها بصاروخ.
Keep in mind, these are the other half of the Amalekites.
لله الحمد. الله أكبر.
Because that's who Gomer and all his bands are, Amalek. Now I'm going to flip this over to, you know who this brother is, who this elder is. This is Brother Malcolm, and talk about the least of the flock, drawing everyone in.
Shalom, shalom. Call hello, Yahweh Shem Abishai, Bashem Rakakwadash. The honors unto the apostles and elders, salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered hope for the elect, the Israelite foreigners that are scattered among the heathen nations that be like unto the speckled bird. To the Akwaf that are listening and learning. To you, I say shalom. This is your brother Malcolm coming at you with another lesson. Current events and things that matter. Right now, on top of all the things that's going on in the world, there's still a war raging on. The war in Syria, which is the Valley of Jehoshaphat, which will eventually draw everyone into it. Because it's, all these things are connected. The coronavirus, the fall, the collapse of the dollar, the collapse of Babylon, and I believe this I know that this coronavirus was released purposely, and the more that I'm observing it, I do believe, that it was released to disguise the collapse of the dollar, because the dollar will more than likely collapse this year or the next, and that's there's no way getting around that. you know, it's all interconnected, but nevertheless, there's a war raging on over there. So, without any further ado, let me, you know, I wrote down some notes from the news that I was listening to and watching, and it says that the Syria, Turkey, and Russia, you know, are at war. You got the Syrian rebels that are siding with the Turks, okay, which we know who's behind that, and then they fight the Syrian soldiers, and then Russia struck back with airstrikes to beat them back. So they had a pretty good ground battle going on where they were using tanks and you know, and then those big heavy guns, and they actually penetrated some of the Syrian defenses, and then the Russians beat them back with their air force. They use you know, their fighter jets to come in and do a land, you know, and drop bombs on the Turkish troops and beat them back. You know, and that is the Valley of Jehoshaphat, and eventually that thing is just going to continue to escalate until it draws everyone into it, because Turkey has asked military aid from Babylon. All right, they've been contacting the White House, and eventually Trump, you know, whoever's the president at the time, more than likely it will be Trump. No one's going to beat him, and I do believe the Lord, you know, is keeping him in there so that he can go ahead and, you know, finish up everything that's about to happen. But let's get a couple scriptures, man. This is Jeremiah 49:20, and it reads, "Therefore hear the counsel of Yahweh, and hear that he hath taken against Edom, and his purposes that he hath purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them." And so, you know, in my head, you know, what I've been taught, and, you know, with the Israelis and everything, we know that the Israelis and the Turks are the same people, you know, physically. They're all Khazarian Edomites, basically, and half, you know, became Jewish and the other half became Muslim, but nevertheless, they're the same people. You know, they come from the same tribe. And least of the flock, you know, I'm always thinking Israelis. Well, you know, it could also be the Turks, all right? And so either way it goes, they either faction, being the state of Israel, the Israelis, or the Turks could make this thing go full blown. It could go either way. Nevertheless, either would still fulfill the prophecy. All right, that the least of the flock shall draw them out. All right, and why? Because the prophecy says that the Lord is going to draw the nations to the Valley of Jehoshaphat, and they have been drawn there, and no one has really ever left, because NATO support is still there, and then all the opposition support is still there, and the battle rages on, and it's just going to continue until it fulfills its purpose. This is Joel 3:2, and it says, "And I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the Valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land." And so how did the nation of Israel get scattered? Through slavery, man. You know, for the most part. All right? I mean, even the Northern Kingdom coming to Asareth, which is here in America, in the Americas, was still a result of slavery, you know, because the Northern Kingdom was in the Assyrian captivity. And they left the Assyrian captivity and came here to the Americas, to Asareth. All right? And that was still a result of slavery, man. So, you know, the Israelites got scattered. Let's get a couple scriptures to substantiate that. And the nation need to pay, because it tells you in 1 Maccabees 2:10, what nation have not gotten a part of a spoil? They've all benefited from our downfall, destruction, you know. And then wherever we're scattered, the systems of Edomite superiority and supremacy reign supreme to oppress us and arrest our development. You know, we have arrested development wherever we are. All right? This is Deuteronomy 28:64, and it reads, "And Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Right, so we got scattered to the among all nations. That's why I can understand why it's so difficult for some of these low-level Israelites to understand that not all of us are going to look the same, and how we've lived and mixed and lived among the heathen, and that we're going to have their physical attributes. A lot of us are going to have their physical attributes whatever heathen nation we're among. We're among all nations. So when like when you come across some Japanese or Chinese kid that can pop, lock, and rap and dance and break dance, that's not something that the other nations can do. They just can't do it. All right, they don't have that. They don't have the sauce that we have, man. They just don't have it. All right, but this is damn glasses need to be tightened up. They won't sit up on my head right anymore. This is Revelation 5 and 9, and it reads, "And they sung a new song. Thou art worthy to take the book and open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain and hast redeemed us out of Salakia, hast redeemed us to God, to power, by the blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation." See, so that's the end game. When Yahweh Shai, and we're near that now. These events that are taking place in the world are leading up to this event, are leading up to this prophecy right here, man. Okay? And why? Because they're just literally trying to destroy us, And the Lord is going to use Russia to put an end to Babylon, to the Edomites here in the West, man. And then all the people that are joined under Russia, and then those that are left, that are remain, we're going to put into chains. Thus saith the Bible, man. This is Ezekiel 38 and 4. Actually, should I start at 3? I'll just read 4. And it reads, "And I will turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all that armies and horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, every great company with buckler and shield, all of them handling swords." All right. Then verse 5, it says, "Persia, Ethiopia, Libya with them, and all them with shield and helmet." And it's crazy that those are the very nations that are going to fight along with Russia. And these are mighty nations, man. All right. As a matter of fact, the Persians and Ethiopians, they actually help us to establish biblical prophecy and figuring out what nations are what nations, because those are two of the nations that the Lord left their names upon intact. Because 99% of the world, when he got into power, he renamed and changed all the names of the different nations, man, and added names. All right, there's only 18 nations, but now there's, according to there's hundreds of them. No, there's only 18 nations created, man. But what he do? Every time somebody goes to a landmass, and they would rename it, they would call people after that landmass. A landmass is not your heritage. Your heritage comes through your father, man. Simple as that. Whatever one of those 18 nations you go back to via your father, not your mother, that's who you are. Point blank, period. Don't matter how many times you get scattered, as a brother, what's my man, the dude that started the GDs or the BDs, the Larry Hoover, met his cousin, and his cousin clearly knows he's an Israelite. And his cousin made a statement, on the line a couple weeks back. And he said, hey, if you take a cup of water from Lake Michigan, and, you take that water, to Indiana, it's still Lake Michigan water. Or if you take it down to Mississippi, it's still Lake Michigan water. And because the subject matter was waters, sperm. So it doesn't matter what landmass you go to, that's still the waters of Lake Michigan. So if that's not simple enough for you, I don't know what else is. Another thing in the news, that a study from Cambridge University revealed that biological weapons could be built and target individuals in specific ethnic groups based on their DNA. A report from University of Cambridge. All right. And you know, I'm not going to go too deep into it. That's really was enough. But nevertheless, you know, I've always often say that's what all this collection of this DNA is about. This ancestry this and DNA this, because they're trying to find out what people, you know, are the scattered Israelite foreigners, because that DNA is going to tell on them. And they're not going to ever share that part with you. And then so that way they'll know, because the most dangerous, you know, word, you know, most dangerous nigga is they would love to say, is a nigga that don't look like a nigga. You know? And I've often mentioned that my mother came from a family of Jakes that were those niggas. They were Jakes, but they didn't look like Jakes. You know, they looked more like Edom. Some of her family members looked completely like Edom, but they were 100% Jake. You know, their forefathers were so-called Negroes, man. You know, but they lived their lives among, you know, because life was easier for them. So they chose that side and cut off their families, man. You know, they didn't deal with their Negro side of the family, so to speak. All right? Because that would have given them away, you know, to get all them benefits and them goodies. But nevertheless, that's neither here nor there. The issue being that this biological weapon, man, that's gonna, you know, it's gonna be against the other nations, but mainly against Jacob. That's what they're worried about. But among the elect, man, the only people that are gonna die from that of Israel is the 2/3. They're already marked for death. All right, they're already marked for death. But as far as the elect, man, you can't touch the elect, and the Lord will raise up that standard. And someone asked me a question about that. Now that I'm thinking about it, and so I'm going to give you a scripture. But first, I'm going to give you this scripture, which is Isaiah 54 and 17. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise up against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of Yahweh, and their righteousness is of me, saith Yahweh. So, you know, there it is, man. It don't matter what he does, the elect are already covered, man. And there's nothing you can do to them. And some of the elect are marked for death, but they're going to be the first ones to get raised up. All right? If that be so. But then there be some, as the scripture said, who's never going to taste death, man. You're not going to be able to do a damn thing to them. And when you do start putting your hands on us, this is the answer. This is Daniel 12 and 1. And it says, and at that time shall Michael stand up, a great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to the same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. That's the elect. All right, and that's that standard. Michael is a part of that standard that the Lord is going to raise up against Esau when they make that move, man. So there's really nothing they can do about it. So with that, you know, I hope this was an edifying, informational lesson. Call Halal Yahweh Bashim Navashai Bashim Rakak Wadash Wa Abba Babal Shalom.
So that's just it, though. Studies show thyself approved, and that's how you know that you are part of the elect. So why not just read this passage where it comes from? 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 10. Therefore I will endure all things for the elect's sakes. You know, so, you know, we want to be a part of the elect. You know, we're the hopeful elect. That they may also obtain the salvation which is in Hamashiach Yahushai with eternal glory. It is a faithful saying, for if we be dead with him, we shall also live with him. You know, we're dead to this world. We're dead to its philosophies. We're dead to its celebrations. We do not delight in the celebrations of Easter, Valentine's Day, you know, the even more wicked ones, Thanksgiving, 4th of July. You know, we do not. But if we suffer, we shall also reign with him. If we deny him, he will also deny us. So again, you know, we deny those so-called celebrations. While everybody else is going and having their barbecue, the 4th of July, celebrating America and its bullshit. Man, we're just going to... It's not that we suffer because we really hate America anyways. But, you know, we just... Nah, man, I ain't partaking in that, you know. But, you know, because of our convictions, man, you know. So we don't deny him. We... rather embrace him. It's like, no, an Israelite does not delight in those things. If we believe not, yet abide faithful, he cannot deny himself. Man, we're not trying to deny who we are, you know. Though we've been scattered among the nations, though, you know, we are not like them. Of these things, put them in remembrance, charging them before the Most High, that they may strive not about words to no profit, but to the subverting of the hearers. You know, again, you know, and this is, you know, what you labor in. Study to show thyself approved unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, a workman that needed not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of the truth, you know. And that's what we do when we go out, you know, and we teach on the streets. But shun profane and vain babblings, for they will increase unto more ungodliness. You know, what's that? You know, like vain babblings, I mean, that's, you know, and profane doesn't mean, okay, a cuss word comes out, as they call it, you know. Of course that's going to come out, man, you know, because, you know, often these things are adjectives of what's actually being spoken. So that's not profanity or vain babblings. What vain babblings is that, well, you know, America's going to live forever, you know, and I don't think that's all going to end, you know, the way that you say it is, you know, vain babblings, you know, because a lot of our people say that, well, I don't really think that that's going to happen. Yet we can see, though. And their word will eat doth as a canker, of whom is Hymenaeus and Philetus. You know, again, you know, canker, what are those? Like canker sores? You know how bad they are. Who concerning the truth have erred, saying the resurrection is past already, and overthrow the faith of some. Again, a lot of people don't have faith in this word. You know, they're like, oh, I don't think that's going to happen in my lifetime, you know. Nevertheless, the foundation of Yahweh standeth sure, having the seal. The Most High knoweth them that are his, and let everyone that nameth the name of Hamashiach depart from iniquity. So that's just it, though, is we are departing from iniquity because we don't want to be the workers of iniquity that Yahushua was pointing out, you know. Depart from me, you workers of iniquity. Well, what's that? Those are still drawn into Babylon, the naysayers. Oh, you know, I don't think that's going to happen. Or I don't believe that the mark of the beast is the RFID. I think that it's this or that. You know, those are naysayers. Those are workers of iniquity. Because there's nothing else that fits the scripture more so than the RFID being the mark of the beast. They're burning cash. You know, the silver and the gold is not going to be here much longer. And yeah, I definitely believe, like Brother Malcolm has put it, though, that this coronavirus is to cover that up. You know, that, oh, well, the reason to get rid of cash is to stop the spread of the virus. It's a pretty good plan of Esau, don't you think? You know, they've had this plan for years that they wanted everybody on the microchip, but just had to find a way to scheme it. Well, maybe this is their final plan. And yes, I do believe, indeed, Gomer, which is still Amalek, could very well be that least of the flock. I mean, now getting into this a bit, I mean, who is drawing everybody in? Gomer's never satisfied. Gomer calls on the whore of Babylon the Great. Gomer calls on Magog. Yeah, that seems to be drawing both sides of it, don't you think? Because aren't the main ones to go to war Magog and Babylon? Think about that. Who's drawing them in? Gomer. So, yes, I can definitely say. And yeah, Israeli state has their part, but let's face it, though, they're the same race. Amalek is Amalek no matter what. No matter whether he calls himself Muslim or Jewish, he's still Amalek, he's still the least of the flock, and everybody fucking hates them. For that, I want to say, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakal Kadash, Wa Abab the Ball. Rakatum to hopeful elect. Shalom.